All right, so welcome everyone. This is Wednesday webinars coming to you today. We have our wonderful speaker today, Cassandra, and she's going to share with us how to be more comfortable in camera. And she's a social media person here in Thunder Bay, Northern Ontario. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. And for everybody in attendance, all your questions, you can put them in the chat. If you're watching this recording, you can email communications@Pero for the copy of the slides or any other questions that you may have. Without any other delays, welcome Cassandra and take on the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. As always, it's always nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. So thank you so much again. I'm going to share my screen and I have a few slides that I'd love to kind of go through with you guys today. We're going to talk about video content. We're going to, we've walked into a world where video content is super, super important. And a lot of people hate it. And I understand why. And so we're going to talk today about how to feel more confident and more comfortable on camera. And at the end of the day, practice makes perfect. So I'm gonna share my screen here. So if I look this direction, it's because I have my second screen over here. But can everybody see that okay? Good to go. Perfect. Okay. So my name is Cassandra. For those of you who I haven't met before, I am the owner of Connect, which is a social media management company. So I help other business owners and entrepreneurs and businesses create content, schedule it all, create strategy behind everything. So I kind of help you with everything that there is to do in regards to social media. I have a background in psychology, business marketing, and digital marketing. So I went to school for quite some time. After that, I worked in local business, learning all things that local businesses have and stand for. And then I decided to open up my own business. So that's a little bit about my history and who I am and where I'm coming from. And yeah. So let's get into this. My contact information is there as well, so you can come find me wherever you need me. So today we're going to talk about why video is important for your business and what it means to have video content. We're going to talk about how to feel more comfortable and confident on camera, because for a lot of people, it doesn't come naturally and it's very uncomfortable and not very fun. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we are going to talk about how to plan a live video. So if you've ever wanted to do a live video on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, they all have opportunities to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, tips and tricks, and then Q&A if you guys have any questions. Okay, so why are videos important? Over the last year, I would say more than ever before, video content is king. And I almost hate saying it because I too, when I first heard that TikTok is here, it's fun to watch. And then Instagram decided that they were going to make video content the forefront of things. And even so much so that they are actually changing the platform completely, and you'll no longer have your classic photo style imagery there. It's all going to be full screen. Like if you've ever been on TikTok, it's like a full screen experience. So it kind of gets rid of the captions. It's a whole thing. That's a whole other problem, but video is the future. And so when TikTok came around to North America, that set the standard across the board. That was the fastest growing social media platform that we had ever seen. And Instagram and Facebook and everyone else was scrambling, saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep up with this? And so when it comes down to it, every platform now supports some type of video. So whether you're on YouTube, you have your long form video, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of those have, short form, long form, live videos, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere has video content, Snapchat. So video content is the future. And, it's what the algorithm wants to see. Because these features are fairly new on some of these platforms, the algorithm says, hey, if you're producing video and supporting our new feature, we're going to support you and give you a little more traction. So that is why you see reels take off. Maybe you have a couple hundred followers and your reel video got 2,000 views and you're like, well, I only have 200 followers. It's because Instagram is rewarding you for producing that type of content. And it's just kind of a different type of content style. So a lot of people get overwhelmed because they think, okay, video, I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. And we're going to talk about that. It's just a different type of content. So everyone is capable of it. Everyone can do it. It's just something, another thing to get used to, another thing to learn. And, you know, like I said, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's, you know, it's just practice. So in 2020, 96% of consumers increased their online video consumption. I wonder why. We were locked down. What are we going to do? We're all sitting on our phones. And so video came out more frequently then because you actually had the time to watch it and sit down and play around with it. So 9 out of 10 viewers said that they wanted to see more video content from businesses and brands. And the reason a lot of that is because it shows that personality behind it. If I did this webinar and I just posted a slideshow on my Facebook, you might not get to see this type of interaction that, you know, and ask the questions that you can ask and have this type of conversation style webinar. You're going to look at the slides and move on. So, you know, video adds that extra personality that you might not get from a photo. In fact, as of 2022, an average person is predicted to spend over 100 minutes a day watching online videos. It's a lot of minutes. It's over an hour of watching videos. So, you know, it's important to think about that as you're transitioning your brand and business, as you're moving into this new digital space. Video is important. So great, but how do we get better at that? How do we do this? You know, so the one thing that I always say is keep it simple. It does not have to be complicated. The process of filming a video itself can be complicated. So why do we need to add in all this extra complication? Right off the bat, keep it simple. Whether it's the content that you're sharing or the way you're filming your video or any of that kind of stuff, it can be simple. You don't have to share the deepest, darkest secrets and most complex process of your business. You can share something that you learned, you know, 10 years ago, but is still relevant and you use it every day. So in my case, you know, sometimes people are confused and they don't know how to get on a live video. They're like, I hear this live video thing, but how do I do that? For me, it's second nature. I go live once a week, so it's nothing to me. But for other people, they're like, how do I do that? Let's slow down. So something where I can share a video of me doing that process comes easy for me. It's nothing complicated for me, but for somebody else, they might get great value out of that and decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to try this live video thing. So you don't have to keep it complex, keep it simple, keep it easy, especially when you're first starting out. Start short and sweet. So another thing is you don't have to have a 50-hour long video. We don't have to sit here for, you know, an hour and watch a video. It depends on the platform that you're on, and it depends on the style of video that you want. But I challenge you to do a 15-second video, whether it is a video of your desk and what you have at home, like what your workstation or in your office, or, you know, it's a quick video of your calendar for the week and you're like, this is how I plan out my calendar, or this is how I do X, Y, and Z, whatever you got in your business, or this is how I package a product, or this is, you know, a type of plant that you can plant in the shade. Whatever it is, there's lots of different opportunities to get that kind of content out there, and it doesn't have to be long. So when you think about, you know, Netflix, YouTube, those types of things, those are productions, right? They're quite a long form video. A lot of times they're over 10 minutes, and that's great, but you don't have to start there. You can start short and sweet. I always say have a plan. It doesn't have to be, you know, a word for word script, but just have an outline. When I do a live video with somebody, you know, it might seem to be natural, but meanwhile, I have a sticky note above my camera so that I can, you know, take a look at the notes that I've written down about the questions that I want to ask, about the topics that I want to address, about who this person is. So just write out a little, you know, play-by-play of what your video wants to be about. So let's say you are talking about, I'm going to use Tracy, for example. Let's say you're talking about shade loving plants. You're like, hey, maybe you have a front yard that doesn't face the right direction. And so, hey, there's a lot of shade in the front yard. What kind of plants are going to do well in that type of environment? And you can showcase a couple of those plants. That video doesn't have to be a 45-minute situation. It can be a quick, 10, 30-second video, and people can still get that value. Then they can go to Tracy and say, hey, I noticed that you said this type of plant is good in the shade. Where might I find something like that? And then you can start those types of conversations. So have a plan, write it down a little bit, write down what your topic is, a couple points underneath there, and use that as a guideline. You don't have to just make it up as you go, because that can be hard, even for myself who does it all the time. Remember that it's not about you. At the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about what you're sharing with people in these videos. So as much as we get all stressed and we have to get dolled up and do all these things and make sure the lighting is right and that everything is perfect, at the end of the day, that 15-second video that somebody's watching, they're getting the value out of it. So whatever you've shared in value is what they're going to take away from it. They're not going to say, hey, Kassandra didn't put on her mascara today. Like, is she crazy? Why would she film a video? Like, they're not going to care about that, right? I mean, don't roll out of bed in your pajamas and take a video, but you want to make sure that what you're sharing is more about the value rather than what you look like or feel like. You can always film things and save them. You never have to post something. There's no law that says, okay, you filmed it, now you have to post it. Take your phone out and just practice speaking in front of your phone. That is nerve-wracking enough for a lot of people. I always challenge people when they're trying to get into this video thing and they're trying to get into this space. At the end or beginning of your day, sit down with your cup of coffee or your tea or whatever you got going on and take 5 minutes, prop up your phone on your coffee table or wherever else, click record and talk to your phone. Tell it about your day, as if you're telling your husband or your friend or whatever. Sit there, say, hey, today this happened and I went here and this and that. What you're doing is you're getting used to being in front of your camera, hearing your own voice, seeing yourself, and just speaking. Because a lot of times when you get in front of the camera or, somebody throws a microphone in your face at a wedding, you're like, I don't know what to say, right? There's no words that are coming. So if you can practice speaking, that's half the battle. So I always speak out loud when I'm home alone. If anybody saw me home alone, they'd think I'm insane. When I'm home alone, I talk to myself. I talk to myself all the time. I'm like, okay, I got to do this. And this is what's happening. I pretend sometimes that I'm on a talk show when I'm making dinner. Like, I'm like, hey, today we're going to make this. And it sounds ridiculous, but what I'm doing is I'm practicing speaking out loud, because a lot of times we have great ideas in our head, but when we go to speak those words, there are no words. So get used to just speaking to yourself, and the neighbor can think you're crazy next door as you speak to yourself, but at the end of the day, it's going to make your business and your brand so much better because you're going to get comfortable with hearing yourself. Did you know on Instagram, you can actually go live without anybody else watching? So on Instagram, if you were to go live, it asks, do you want to do this publicly or privately? And if you click privately, it's not live. It is not live for the rest of the world to see. It's just for you to practice on. And Instagram implemented that about a year ago to help people get comfortable with this platform, to get comfortable with seeing themselves, talking, all that kind of stuff. So if you can, hop on there and see what the interface looks like. You don't have to, start talking, but you can take a look at the buttons, see where things come up, and then practice talking. Talk on there. Now, instead of putting your phone and recording a video on your phone in front of your face, put your Instagram live video on there and talk about that. Make sure it's private. You don't want to start confessing your whole life to everybody, but it's nice to be able just to practice that kind of thing on a platform.
Press 4 to disconnect or start your message.
Oh.
Hi, Barbara. This is Natasha from Mojo Sportswear Company.
There we go. Perfect. The other thing is that if I'm being honest with everyone, people don't care that much. And I'm saying that in the nicest way. People don't care that much. I am a dancer. I've danced my whole life. And I remember getting on stage with people and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. What if I screw up? And I was like, well, what if you screw up? Who's going to remember that? Who's going to even know that you screwed up? So in the same way, people are not going to know what the next line that you were supposed to say or what the next tip is or whatever, and they're not going to care that much. When you get off that live video, they're going to say, okay, I got the information I needed, and forget about the whole situation. So at the end of the day, do it for you and do it because you want to, rather than being like, oh my gosh, I have to share all this information and I'm going to screw it up. Don't worry about it. People are not going to care about that. They are going to care about what you told them, and then they're going to move on. Do it before you're ready. I always say, there's a lot of things in business that people say, do it before you're ready and get it done. This is one of those things that I would definitely agree with. Do it before you're ready and get on the platforms, because sooner than later, you're going to fall behind. And as fast as social media works and moves and adjusts, if you're not there yet, it's just going to push you back and you're not going to ever get to that point. So do it before you're ready. Film a reel, go live, do some sort of video content, before the end of the month or before the end of next month, so that you're at least trying to get into this space. I always say when you look good, you feel good. Nobody wants to film a video when they're like half sick or they didn't have a good sleep or their kid drove them crazy this morning. Nobody's ready to be like, okay, well, now I'm going to film a video. Like, a lot of times you just don't feel good. So I always say, put on a little makeup, put on your favorite sweater or whatever you got going on, feel a little bit better, because you're going to perform a little bit better. Putting on your PJs and getting in front of an audience is not quite the right vibe. So make sure that you feel good before you get in front of the camera. Face your fear. It's the only way to overcome it is if you challenge it. I was actually reading a book yesterday as I was driving, not reading, I was listening to a book while I was driving. Do you imagine reading and driving? Not good. I was listening to a book and they were talking about, building up confidence. And a part of that was just doing it to overcome your fear. What are you really afraid of? And how can you get past that? And honestly, a lot of it is just doing it. Now, you're not going to do it every single day all the time, because your fight or flight would be skyrocketed, but sit down once a week and do something that makes you a little bit nervous, or do something that makes you a little scared, because over time that will eventually fade. You're not going to be scared of it if you continue to do it. You're just going to get more and more comfortable with it. So what kind of video content is there? Because it feels like there's a lot and we don't want to get overwhelmed with all the different things that are happening. So we have a few different things. You have your long form video. So this would be considered a long form video. I'm talking to you guys for about 45 minutes. Anything I would say over 5 minutes is considered long form. So when you go onto YouTube, 95% of that content is long form video. You can do live video. So live video is what we're doing right now. So I'm doing a long form live video. This is live. This is not recorded. I'm literally sitting here right now doing this live with you guys. So you can do that on different channels. You can do that on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or I don't know if you can do it on Twitter, TikTok for sure. There's lots of different things that you can do live video. Streaming channels, if you do gaming or anything like that, you'll know all about streaming channels. But live video can be very important because it's interactive. You can ask me questions in real time. We can stop, we can go through things. It's very interactive in that regard. And so live video can be just a different style, but also very beneficial. Short form video. So short form is your, 15 second, 30 second, anything under 5 minutes is a short form style video. So some platforms, TikTok right now allows you to record up to 10 minutes, which in my opinion is a little bit long for that type of platform, considering it's all short form content. But when you think about short form, you're going to think about your TikTok, your reel videos on Instagram there, the reels, that kind of stuff, because it's usually, 15 seconds to a minute of somebody doing something, or, making a joke or whatever it is, packaging something. It's just a short form video. You can talk in the short form video. You can add music, you can add text, you can do it however you want to do it. There's no limitations to that, but it's just shorter. The time frame is a little more compact. And then the last kind is user-generated content. Now, user-generated content is essentially those videos on YouTube when people are reviewing products, or on Instagram when they're unpackaging their brand new, whatever it is. Let's say they got a candle order and they're unpackaging it and they're like, look at this paper and this cute note that the person left me. That's user-generated content. Essentially, it's anything where your consumers are making the content for you. So we live in a world of video, like I was saying, and this type of content has blown up. It's crazy. A lot of people are online sharing their experience. So, and it doesn't have to be a product. It can be a service. Maybe somebody hired me for social media management services. I can ask them at the end of that and say, hey, do you mind leaving like a little testimonial video on how your experience was? That is user-generated content. And instead of it being your classic review that you might see on Google, it's actually a video. So I can use that for different things. So video's huge. It's all over the place. There's different ways that you can do it. I always say start with your short form video. Start with the short, sweet, happy, package it up nicely, and then grow out from there. Once you get comfortable talking and speaking and comfortable with hearing yourself, that's what everyone hates. My boyfriend says that all the time. Like, oh, I recorded a video of you. He's like, turn the sound off. Like, I can't stand my voice. Figure that kind of stuff out. Once you get comfortable with that, and you might never be fully comfortable with it, but once you can manage it, then you can go into the longer form videos, because you're more comfortable with speaking just in general. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about live videos, because live videos are a great way to just kind of live in the moment and have a video type of content, but it doesn't have to stay around forever if you don't want it to. So I always say the first thing you should do is find a topic. Now, this can be anything that I always say that has to do with your business. I mean, if you want to go live on your personal page and talk about, your trip to Kelowna, great. But let's talk about your business. Figure out a topic that you want to talk about. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. Like I said from the beginning, it could be a new product that you might be launching. It could be, a new service that you're introducing, or just your services in general. Tell people what you do. Maybe there's a bunch of new followers that have come through and they're like, hey, I don't know who Kassandra is. Hey, I can tell them what I do, how I'm here, what my business is about. Tell them about different aspects of your industry. So let's say, things are changing. There's rules that are changing, or, platforms are changing. In my case, Instagram is just throwing everybody for a loop. So I could hop on a live video and share a little bit more about how Instagram is changing. It's something that I just know because I have the experience with it, and I can just share with my audience. Share something about new trends, what's happening in the interior design world, what's popular right now for interior design, what is going on the outs, like what is not popular anymore, and just sharing little things like that you might see all the time, but your audience might not. Plan the date. So find a date that works for you and plan it. Put it in your calendar. If it's not in your calendar, it's never going to happen, at least in my world. So take the time to, take a look at your audience, see, when are people active? Oftentimes it depends on your audience. If they're mothers with newborns, they're going to be active at, 5 a.m. and they're probably going to be active at 9 p.m. because that's when the baby is not, screaming and needing them. They have the morning and the evening to kind of sit down and maybe play around on their phone. If you are, for my case, a lot of people take their lunch in their businesses around noon, 1 o'clock. So I do my lives then, I call them a live lunch. So I sit down with another entrepreneur and we chat about entrepreneurship and what they're doing and what different parts of their business is like. And it's essentially to help people get out of their comfort zone. Sometimes it's easier to go live when you have dialogue between two people. So on Instagram, you can actually go into your settings, you can go into your insight, you'll hit your audience and you'll scroll to the bottom and it'll show you the most active times that people are online. So I have that written right in the slides so you can follow along later on if you're like, okay, how do I do this? Write your script. Like I said, doesn't have to be word for word, but have those key points that you want to add in there. this is important, especially for a live video, because you don't want those awkward silences. You don't want a moment where you're like, okay, and now, you've been silent for 30 seconds. People don't want to stay and watch you look around your bedroom. They don't care about that. So I always say, get out your points. If people are asking questions, answer them as you go. But it keeps you focused. It keeps you engaged. And, if you do a live video and you start talking, and let's say you're talking for maybe 5 minutes and you're like, okay, I got everything out. Because oftentimes when we're nervous, we talk really fast. Let's say you got everything out in 5 minutes and people are like, oh, wow, okay, great, good to know. And that's done. End of the live video. Don't sit there and look around and play on your phone. Like, if you're done speaking, finish it up. And there's nothing wrong with having short video there either. Promote it. So figure out what day you're going to do it. Let's say you are going to do it June 1st at 12 o'clock. Share it on your social media. Say, hey, on June 1st at 12 o'clock, I am going to be going live on my Facebook or Instagram or to wherever you're going live. Tell them where you're going. And just say what you're going to talk about. I am going live to talk to you all about how, I don't know, how to grow grass in the spring. And you can share your information, right? So just let people know what's going on, because oftentimes if you let them know ahead of time, they can kind of, if they're interested and they want to know more, they can kind of plan around their day. And then go live. At the end of the day, it's all about the actual action, right? So make sure your Wi-Fi is on and connected. There's nothing worse than like low connection and your phone's yelling at you and you're already nervous and stressed out. Just take a look, make sure the Wi-Fi, full bars, we're good to go. Good lighting. I always say, a natural light. I have a window right in front of me. Sometimes the sun is blasting into my eyeballs and I have to like move back so the window isn't right there. But make sure you have some good lighting. It doesn't have to be this fancy like lighting setup. It can simply just be your window in your living room or wherever you are. Don't show up in your pajamas. Like I said, if you feel good, if you look good, you often feel good. So toss on a pair of pants, toss on a nice shirt and do your video. And then, like I said, have your notes. They don't have to, I like to put them above my phone just so that I'm kind of just glancing up. I'm not like, okay, let me just get out my book here and start reading, but I just have them up there. So it looks a little more natural, but have your notes. Write on a sticky note what you want to say or some point form notes so that you can keep that conversation going. Perfection is the poison to money. I always say that because a lot of times we wait for things to be perfect, and I am guilty of that. I wanted to start a YouTube channel months and months and months ago, and I was like, well, I need the proper lighting, and I need the props, and I need the room, and blah, blah, blah. Have I done anything? No. I've actually enrolled in a YouTube course so that I can get going and be accountable for it. And so oftentimes we get caught up in all the things we don't have, like the perfect camera and the perfect lighting. Just start somewhere. Set yourself up, get a chair, sit down, set yourself up in front of a window and just take some time to practice. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We have people on TikTok literally in their pajamas walking around doing their makeup in the morning and talking to us about marketing or talking to us about how to better your life. It doesn't have to be perfect anymore. We live in a world where that type of content is just as valuable as, the pretty, perfect, polished type of stuff. Please get a phone tripod. Now the one on the bottom is like a cardboard situation if you wanted to cut it out of your pizza box this weekend, but I always say get a tripod. I have like 100 here, like there's some everywhere. Now I got a larger one. Originally I had, just grab it here. I had a little one like in those videos. So you prop up your phone, it can turn sideways, it has the little feet, and it can sit on your desk. It extends, that kind of thing. Super easy to use. I used that forever, loved it, got a second one, got a third one. One's in my car, they're everywhere. But then I wanted to do standing up videos because for me, standing up is just more comfortable. I'm a mover, and so I like to be able to stand. And so I bought my 6 foot tall tripod that was $25 on Amazon. They're not expensive, but they save you from having to like prop up your phone and then you're doing a live video and the phone falls and you're like, oh my God, and it's just a whole ordeal. Get the tripod, and then that way it can be like your little video moment. It can get your mind in the mindset of, hey, we're going to film a video, so let's do this, right? Instead of it being like, okay, we're going to film a video and it's like on your dresser and it's not really a good angle and you're just not happy with it. So I always say, get the tripod, invest the money. It's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. It can be a business write-off, but get the tripod so that you actually feel comfortable in the videos that you're creating, and so that you feel that you are about to create a video. Our cell phones have gone leaps and bounds when it comes to video and photo. The cameras are amazing on them. A lot of times they're better than DSLR cameras, which are the big chunky Canon, Nikon, that kind of thing. I have both. I have Canon sitting in the other room. I have Nikon sitting in the other room, and I still use my phone because I find it the easiest. So I always say, start with what you have. You don't have to invest all this money and time and energy in a video set. It can be very simple. Grab your tripod, grab your cell phone, and just start talking to your phone. As you get more comfortable with that, go live on Instagram secretly and get comfortable with that platform. Then maybe ask somebody else in your industry or another business friend and say, hey, I'm really trying to practice my live video skills. Do you think we can hop on a live together maybe next week and just kind of chat back and forth? It's almost like you're on the phone with somebody. Chat back and forth and just learn about each other's businesses and share with our audience. They're probably going to say, holy crap, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And you kind of work off each other's energy, right? Encourage each other to do it, and just be accountable. At the end of the day, make some time in your calendar to do this video content. Video is everywhere. It's not going away as much as a lot of people thought it would, including myself. I didn't think it was going to continue the way it is, but it is. And so we have to get on board or we're going to get like towed underneath the wave here. So short form video can be fairly simplistic as well. It doesn't have to be, if you're not comfortable with talking in front of the camera or you don't want to be in front of the camera yet, start with things like showing off your office desk or showing off you packaging a product or doing a facial or whatever it is that you do. Start off by showing what your day looks like. When you walk into the office, what does that look like? Unlock the door with us, take your phone in one hand, keys in the other, which might take a hot second to get used to, but just film that process of you opening the door and walking into your office in the morning. That can be a video. And you can, add text to that if you'd like, or in the caption, you can say, happy Monday. Do you have an at-home office or do you work from a, I don't know what the other word is now. Do you work at home or do you work in an office setting, and you can ask your audience what they're up to and how they work. And you may think, okay, well, that's simple and almost seems a little bit silly, but it's getting you comfortable with video and it's engaging your audience. It's asking them, hey, what does your day look like? How do you start your program? How do you start your day? So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Keep it simple. There is a girl on TikTok. She actually she lived in Thunder Bay for a while. She makes scrunchies. So her business name is XXL Scrunchies. And she makes these oversized satin scrunchies. They're beautiful. She has like blown up to the capacity I can't even express simply by doing video content. That is all she's done from the very beginning. She posts videos of what behind the scenes of her packaging things and her getting orders coming in and her sewing the scrunchies by hand and staff that have come in now because she has this big business. And so a lot of people think, oh, well, I do this every day, so who's going to want to see it? Trust me when I say people want to see it. People are watching others on Amazon, on TikTok. They're watching people package Amazon products, like how it comes off the conveyor belt. They put the tape on the box, flip it over, put the products in, tape it, and move it down the conveyor belt. People would watch that for days. And they've made, millions off people just doing that. So when you think, hey, nobody's going to care to watch that, trust me when I say that they are. People like to watch what people do, right? Because I don't always get to see that other side of the business. When you think about your Amazon package that showed up at your door today, You know, sometimes you might think, okay, well, how did it get here? Or what's the process of that? I'd love to see how they package stuff like that. And now you can. We live in a world where you can basically see anything you want to see. So packaging, doing anything that you might think is mundane in your business can really kind of help you get comfortable in front of video. And at the end of the day, if you film a video and you never post it, hey, at least you filmed it, delete it. You're getting more comfortable, right? So do you guys have any questions, comments, anything you want to know? I know I threw a lot at you pretty quickly. I see there's a couple things in the chat here as well. Absolutely. I will definitely send you guys a copy of the slide presentation for sure. And then what length do I recommend the live videos? So live videos, it depends on what you're kind of talking about, right? It depends on what's going on in your live video. A lot of people, I have done probably, I think 15 live videos with other people. And so when I talk to them about, you know, live videos and what they do and how they do it, a lot of times a half-hour live video is sufficient. It gets the information out that you want to share. It gives people an opportunity to come in, ask any questions or just interact. But it's not so long that you're kind of going on for like a webinar style type situation. So I always say, you know, stick to about a half hour. If it's shorter than that, that's okay too. But you don't want to go so long that now you're teaching people like a course, right? You don't want to teach them everything. So if you do have something, let's say, you know, you do a live video and maybe it's 20 minutes long and you noticed a lot of people interacting with it, they were asking questions about things, maybe then you can take that feedback and make it into a webinar, right? Where we can now sit down and have like a little hour-long webinar about X, Y, and Z, and you can register people, and that's how you can make either a little bit of income or gain some emails on your email list. So you can always take the things that you've done in other types of content and make it into something a little bigger. Another tip as I'm thinking about it is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So what I always say is go back through your content. What have you shared before? So like myself, I share a lot of social media tips because, you know, I want to help people grow on their social media accounts. So I might go through there and say, okay, well, this post did really well. And I was sharing information about, you know, how to be active on your Facebook and Instagram stories and why that's important. So I might make a video about that. Instead of creating a whole new post and a whole new video and trying to think of ideas, I can just take what I already have and make them into videos because they're going to reach a different audience in a different way. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you need some sort of content. Just go back and take a look at what you've already created. How often do you go live on IG or TikTok? Yeah, for sure. So it depends on your business. It depends on what's going on. The girl with the extra large scrunchies that I have in my bedroom because I love her brand, she goes live on Instagram, or she used to go live on Instagram and TikTok once a day. So she would spend, you know, an hour at night when she was like sewing the scrunchies by hand, and she would sit there and do the work. She would sit there and do the work, but she would be on live video so people could watch her do the process and then ask her questions. You know, she's like, hey, ask me questions. Like, let's talk about stuff. And so that's how she did it. Now, I go live personally once a week. I go Instagram. I go on my Instagram, I go live once a week, and that is where I sit down with another entrepreneur and we talk about business. And that has been my kind of consistency with that, which has done good over time. At the first time I did it, you know, a couple of people were watching and nobody's really paying attention. As it's grown now, I'm on the 15th episode or whatever you want to call it. Most, you know, people are coming in, they're having conversations, they're waiting for it, they're asking, hey, when's the next Instagram live? So like I said, the first time it's kind of hit and miss, but as you grow that, it kind of, you know, people start to look for it, right? Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, Barbara, go ahead. Oh, you're muted. Let's see what's going on here.
Thanks.
No worries.
Great presentation. Thank you. I came in a bit late. And I don't know if you covered this, but I'm looking at you right now and the lighting is beautiful.
Thank you.
What?
Honestly, it's a window in front of me. It's a window in front of me, and the sun now is above our house. And so it's just natural lighting that happens. And it's a cloudy day. It's not like there's like any real like sunlight coming in. It's just a window in front of me.
Yeah. So is that the key then? Because so right now I have, this, but then if I do this, is that better lighting, everyone?
So now there's a bit of a shadow situation on your face. So I always say, if you have sunlight coming directly into your window and you're like,
Yeah.
I can't get around to that, what I would do is put a sheer curtain above you. So just put a sheer curtain. So it's like, it just diffuses the light. So instead of, your classic black or gray or whatever, I'd get a white one, just close it so that there's still natural light coming in through, but it's not as harsh as it would be.
Okay, so just a sheer curtain.
Exactly. So then when you're doing your video or you're on Zoom or whatever you're doing, you can just slide it across. So it's not as aggressive and it kind of diffuses the light, but it still gives you that natural look.
So you don't use one of those lamps?
No, they're back here. I have a few of them. They're all over the house, to be honest. I do that first thing in the morning because, there's a lot of trees in our front yard. And so you get all those shadows. So I just close the blinds and put the lights on. But a lot of my day is, during the day and in the afternoon when the sun's kind of behind me. So I'm lucky enough that the house faces the right direction because that's not always right.
Well, and I also love your gray background, right? Like it's just, you're not like I've had a challenge trying to find a good background.
And that's a part of it, right? Is what does your environment look like when you're doing videos? And when I was painting this room, I was like, do I go light or dark gray? And everyone said, go light because it's a small room. But I love dark. I wanted to go dark. And so I was like, nope, screw it. I'm going dark. And so I made it dark. What my plan is to have just like a nice white bench behind there and add a couple little things to just add some like spice to it, right? It's not just a plain background, and get rid of all this extra stuff that's behind me, but keep it simple in the background. It doesn't have to be, like a whole production. Like I said, just keep a couple things back there so that it gives you the eye something to look at and something to be drawn to, but it's not so distracting that it's taking away from what you're doing, right? So like yours is very nice. It's very simplistic. Then I'm going to go up to Tracy, not because I'm picking on her, but because she knows I love her. And she has the picture behind her, but then she has all the toys and pillows and things that are happening. I know that's her living room and I'm not judging her in any way, but something like that might not be as, eye-catching as just a simplistic thing that you have going on, Barbara, where it's just, the door happens to be there. You can't get rid of the door, but there's just like one photo and it keeps it kind of simple.
Thank you. It's a great presentation, Kassandra. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help where I can. Tracy says, is it better to post videos on stories or just regular posts? So that's an interesting question because we've kind of adjusted the platforms, right? It's not quite the same as it used to be. So when we look at Instagram, when we look at Facebook, and it's almost different on every platform because not every platform has the same capacity for things. So videos on Instagram, if I have to suggest any videos on Instagram, live videos and reels, no matter what you're doing, you almost don't want to post them in the feed anymore because those are only getting shown to your audience. So I always say, if you are doing a video, film it, first of all, in portrait. Do not go landscape because reels are filmed in portrait mode. So if you go landscape, there's going to be a big block of black up and down on either side. And Instagram doesn't really like that because they're very finicky. So if you're doing it, do it in portrait mode as often as you can. And I always say, try and do it in reels. If you're doing like a Facebook video and you're like, okay, I want to post it on Facebook, that is great in the feed because Facebook stories didn't take off as well as Instagram stories did. So I always say post it as a video itself. LinkedIn, same thing. They, I think, even got rid of stories because it's just not a thing on there. So post it in the feed. The only thing that I would recommend changing that is on Reels. When you get to Instagram, I would post it as a reel video as opposed to a static video. And then TikTok is all video content anyway. You can't even post any other type of video. So there's a time for video in the story, and that might be a video in the morning when you're like, hey guys, happy Monday, just getting ready to start the day. Today my projects are X, Y, and Z. And then there's a time to post the video where people are going to care on a Thursday. They're not going to be like, oh, well, I don't care what you're doing on Monday. That's where you can share the tips and tricks and be like, hey, you know, do you have a front yard that faces the shade? Here's a couple plants you might want to consider. Boom, boom, boom. That video is never going to like be irrelevant, right? That's always going to be something that's valuable. So try and find things that are more valuable long term and post those in your reels and your static feed posts. And then things that are just kind of happening in the moment, that's where I would recommend the stories. Does that make sense? I feel like I went on and on. Does anybody have any other questions or concerns or anything that's coming up?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cassandra. It's a wealth of information as always. And yeah, I haven't been to, I don't even have Instagram myself. So all of this went over my head and you sounded like an expert. So definitely useful in many ways. I have, so if anybody wants to get in touch, they can contact Cassandra at any time. I'm sure she'll share her information. If you want to put your email in the chat, you can go right ahead. If you want a recording of this webinar, send an email at communications@pero.ca for the link to the recording. So if there's no other questions, I'll stop the recording and then we'll see you next week. And so
thank you guys so much. It was really a pleasure.